Now, before I get into how to do it, I'm going to talk about some inherent difficulties in our own psychology which make modesty and normalization difficult. Why do we become egoistic so quickly, and why do we idolize people? It's important to understand those instincts in you, because if you see them, maybe you'll be able to get over them. So first I'll talk about modesty. Why is it difficult to be modest, and why do people slide towards egotism? So one thing is clear, that there is this pleasure in righteousness, in being right. Yeah, because if you think about this, being wrong means you have a wrong estimate of the world, like, and being wrong means potentially, evolutionary speaking, you could die, right? Like, it's like if you have a wrong estimate of the world, what if there is something dangerous out there and you don't understand it? And what if there is something beneficial out there and you don't understand it? It could be potentially fatal for you. And that's why being wrong is something we want to avoid at all costs. We want to be right about our surroundings, about our world. So you hate to be wrong. Being wrong means being in darkness, and being right means you're safe. Like, you have a handle on reality. Like, I can deal with this word because I know what's going on. So this is why we have this inherent need to be right and feel right also. And because we have that need, sometimes we don't even care about facts. Sometimes we don't even care about truth. Sometimes we don't even care about correcting ourselves. We just want to be right. So you enter into a conversation, you're not open. You just want to prove yourself right. And so this is a great obstacle in becoming modest. So once you realize that you have this instinct, you can get over it. The other thing is, I think this is probably my own hypothesis. This is my theory. It may not be confirmed by other people, but this is what I think is going on. See, why do we have an ego? Like, this is what I'm actually talking about. Like, why do we tend to become egoistic? See, we do have this inherent need for immortality. Like, if you think about this, so many people, even if you're thinking about work or making an impact, we have this feeling like, how will I be remembered? What will be my legacy, right? How do I want to leave this world, a better place or a worse place, right? And some people are like, will my name be remembered after centuries or not? So somehow we care about our lives after our death. And also, for centuries, you must have heard, for millennia, the biggest kings, the biggest rulers, they have tried to find a way to achieve immortality, right? Amrit kya hai? Like the nectar, something that could make them God, like they'd never have to die. So what we understand there is this need to survive forever. This need to be there forever is something inherent in us. And why should it be there? Because technically, our genes are sort of wired that way. I have explained that a little bit earlier, which is the core ethic of our genes, a core purpose of our genes is to replicate themselves, to just constantly be in the gene pool, be in the world, and not to disappear from the world, right? To survive evolution. So just like our genes want to constantly replicate themselves, we also want some part of us, because ultimately we are wired from the gene only. Like, genes, it's like we are slaves to the genes in that sense. So what our brain wants is also dependent on the genes. So why am I saying all these things? Because we must understand that this sense of this need to inflate our sense, to exaggerate ourselves, and to really be something special, to be above and beyond, to survive, to be immortal, all of those things are wired somewhere from our biology. And once you understand that, you can actually transcend it by not being a slave to it, which is, you know what, okay, I know where this is coming from. I know this is my brain wiring, from my genes wiring, and I don't have to be a slave and follow the orders of my genes in this. Now I can choose what I want to do, which is if it's taking me too far. So knowing where it's coming from is actually very, very powerful. Again, this is my theory. You might not find in the books, but I do think it relates to the best science that we know, basically genetics. Okay. Now, for heroism, there are obstacles of normalization too. Just like you want to basically inflate your own sense of self, we also have a need to find heroes, to find saviors, to find God, to find somebody who is just superhuman, somebody who's bigger and better than this normal day-to-day life, right? That's also need. So sometimes, and I'll give you a small example here. So we have this need to somehow, or need, no, just a preference for confidence. People who sound very strong, who sound very confident, that sounds actually more interesting than people who are moderate or who talk with doubt or who are not sure what they're saying. That's not so interesting, is it? So people can make very confident claims, and that seems interesting. So I'm raising that point because when you see somebody standing there with confidence, with chest wide, and saying big claims, making big claims, it actually seems very interesting. You want to believe that. And that is something that you have to fight, because modesty seems boring. So like, if I give you an example, like if I tell you, you know what, I'll tell you the key to happiness and you don't need to know anything else in life. Now, if I say it like that, people will be like, oh, this guy knows something, right? Oh, let me listen to that. As opposed to if I say, you know what, I have an important idea which can contribute to your happiness. Now, that doesn't sound so interesting. So that's why people get so fascinated by even motivational speakers, even gurus, because there's amazing confidence there. Now, and you tend to, whenever somebody sounds confident, you're like, okay, that's my hero. Like, this person knows what's going on. They have a handle on this word. They're confident. They're strong. And you idolize them, right? Like, modesty basically seems boring. And once you realize this, then you can let go of that perception. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to fall prey to this. Like, agar main aaj bol दूं, मैं दुनिया बदल दूंगा, that seems more inspiring than हाँ मैं लोगों की मदद करूंगा थोड़ी बहुत. So इसलिए, the moment you see tall, big claims, please remember, deep inside, they are hollow. People are confident, but they should not be confident because, like I said in the beginning, they are also flawed people. They also have errors. They have a lot of things missing in their worldview. So they probably don't even realize that they did not know it. So just like I gave that example in the beginning, how in my videos, I used to say things like, oh, you know what, I'm the best of all. I meant it at that time. It's not like I did not mean it. I meant it. Oh, I actually thought I was the best at that time. But I was wrong because I was not aware of my own faults, my own weaknesses. So if somebody had taken me seriously at that time, that this guy is saying he's the best, he must be the best, they would have made a mistake too, because ultimately I am not the best, right? So this is why it's important that before you idolize somebody, remember those things, that somebody's confidence, somebody's heroism, it seems inspiring. It probably gives you this, like, okay, somebody's following these higher ideals, but beneath all of it, it's mostly hollow. Okay. So now those obstacles I've addressed, I'm going to briefly talk about how do you actually bring this into life and some practical applications for it. And I'll also discuss the homework part. So it's actually very simple. Once you understand the philosophy, you can find the right behaviors for it. So some of the right behaviors would be, I want you to now start enjoying saying, I don't know, I'm not sure. Anybody asks you something, you're like, oh, main batata hu. Oh, I know everything. You say something. And then even if you, like, somebody asked me directions. I was in a new zone. I had no idea, but udhar hi hoga. I just could not say, I don't know. Like, I told somebody wrong directions because I could not say I don't know. And then I'm like, I hope he asks somebody else and not go. And I hope he doesn't go too far with it. So we are so wired to just say something, to act like we know. And now I had to again train myself to start saying, literally, to say those words out of my tongue. I don't know, right? So that whenever I have doubt, I don't know, I'm not sure. So actually you should do this exercise. Go stand in front of the mirror and say this 5 times. I don't know, I'm not sure, so that your tongue gets used to saying that, right? The flip side of that is, whenever somebody doesn't know something, don't put them down, because we make that mistake too. So a small example here would be, so recently my Masaji, he was visiting us, and he asked, he came from Gwalior, okay, and we are in Noida. And people make these mistakes all the time. So he asked us कि यहाँ पर कोई, he asked me certain society कि वो society यहाँ पर बन रही है, like उसके rates क्या हैं आजकल, what are the rent क्या चल रहे हैं? I don't know. कि तुम्हें ये नहीं पता, तुम नोएडा में रह के करते क्या हो? ये क्या है, क्या रह, तुमने क्या उखाड़ा 10 साल नोएडा में रह के? What have you done living here 10 years? And I'm like, okay, was I supposed to know that? So we have this, somehow we just assume like the things that are obvious to us should be obvious to other people. They're not. Somebody in your family might not know who's the president of India. Somebody might not know what's the capital of Pakistan or America. And all people, we don't know so many things. So first of all, proudly say I don't know. And whenever somebody says I don't know, don't put them down. Okay. And this recognition of we don't know and we are not sure is actually very essential. Okay. Next would be start enjoying saying I was wrong. So many things that you have said or done in the past which are wrong, which you now know are wrong, but instead of defending them, instead of finding a way to make sure that you convey to other people that you were right, it's better that you start saying I was wrong. And to be honest, it's actually possible, and to really be proud of that, to be able to say I was wrong. And why am I proud of it? What's there to be proud about? Because I know that most people can't do it. So the fact that I can genuinely, sincerely say I was wrong, I know that I'm doing something which is actually difficult. And that's why you should be proud of yourself, that you can easily admit that you were wrong. And also, when somebody else is wrong, they admit that they're wrong, don't again bash them, don't put them down, don't tell them, oh, I told you so. You know what? And that again would be a mistake, because then you're discouraging admission of guilt, admission of wrongness. So this is super important, that you start saying I was wrong. And you, whenever somebody says I was wrong, you actually appreciate them. That you actually say them, okay, you know what? I'm glad that you accepted that you were wrong, right? And these things lead to a modest culture around yourself. Then start enjoying saying, I changed my mind. Another very important thing. We have this need to be proven right always, which is, जो बात मैंने 4 साल की थी, आज भी वही हो रहा है. That's actually not a good thing. It means you have not really learned anything. So, and this happens very commonly in politics. What do politicians do? So they'll pick a statement, they'll go back 20 years in the history, find some contradicting statement from the same politician, and it's like, yeah, kya hai? They'll look at this. You said something 20 years back. Maybe that guy learned something in 20 years. Maybe that guy actually changed their mind. Did you talk to them? Was he supposed to keep the same opinion for 20 years? Oh, so that is also a nonsense way of dealing with people and looking at life. So this is why, if somebody is changing their mind, you must encourage that. And also, whenever you change your mind, be proud of that. It means that you've learned. Now you're stronger. Now you're smarter. Okay. And that is an essential part of, again, modesty. And now this is for the idealization part. Start enjoying modesty in other people, celebrating modesty in other people, instead of too much confidence, too much strength, trying to too much boastfulness. If somebody is acting too boastful, they're trying to be very, very egoistic. They're trying to be very super duper confident, like they know everything, they can do anything. I say run away, because first of all, they are probably wrong. Secondly, it would be very hard to deal with them, because that can lead to some very, very toxic behaviors when somebody gets very, very egoistic. So do not celebrate those things. Instead, whenever you see somebody who's modest, who's acting a little bit, okay, I'm not sure, I'm thinking, they're taking other people's perspectives. They're saying to some degree, like they're basically hedging their own lines. That's what you say, okay, this person is a wise person. Like this person probably knows something. Like this person is actually in touch with reality. So this is what you prefer now, even though it may not be very sparky, it may not seem very entertaining, but that's what you basically gravitate towards. Okay. So this is something that you can bring in your life. And overall, in general, be humble, be nice to others, accept you're wrong, be flexible, keep changing, give others equal importance. And please remember that it's not all about you. Okay. These videos can help you to some degree, but if your problems are really serious or painful, you should come for counseling. We now have a team of psychologists who can help you and your family live a much better life. Here are some feedbacks from our clients. If you wish to take counseling from us, go to our website page www.shridharlifeschool.com/counsel. Click on this link and fill this application form. We will get back to you soon.